There are myths and superstitious beliefs that certain things are not meant to be done by some folks, and some paths no mortal human dares to cross. In the heart of a very small village, called Umuaku, where the sun shimmers across bent roofs, huge trees, and deadly paths, there lived an old man called Mr. Ndubusi, an elderly man in his early 70s. A well-known chief in Umuaku community. He was a very strong man during his youthful years. Wounded but not destroyed. Mr. Ndubusi had always wanted a male child, someone that will succeed him after he is gone. But God blessed his wife with two beautiful beings. Adora and Chidinma were their names. The dusty road leading to Umuaku community carries a lot of dust particles as people move to and fro the street. Mr. Ndubusi is seated outside, with his eyes staring into the thin air. He looks a bit perturbed. This is clearly seen through his facial expression. Some footsteps could be heard from a distance. A young girl of about 20 years proceeds from inside the hut. It was Mr. Ndubusi's first daughter Adora. She stopped halfway outside the compound and greeted her father. "Good morning, Papa," Adora said, in a calm and steady voice. Mr. Ndubusi stared continuously at his daughter, before responding to her. "Morning, my daughter. I can see you're going somewhere," he grunts loudly, and paused for a while. A warm smile graced Adora's soft lips. She starts fidgeting with the hem of her gown. "Yes, Papa. I want to go and fetch some firewood for Mama," she muttered in a polite manner. Mr. Ndubusi breathed out heavily. He looked at his daughter once more, and his mouth turns sour. You're a very hard-working girl. I wish you were a boy, at least you would have been helping me to hunt for bush meats," Mr. Ndubusi snorted, his voice sharp like the edge of a sword. Adora responded, scratching her hair with the tip of her fingers. "But Papa, I can help you hunt. I don't have to." Mr. Ndubusi immediately interrupted his daughter, shaking his head in disapproval. "No, it's too risky for a young girl like you. Do you know the type of wild animals that are in the bush? Please, go and fetch the firewood, now that it's still bright," he replied, putting a piece of chewing stick in his mouth. Adora playfully swings her hands to and fro, in the air. "Okay, Papa. If you say so," she murmured, and exits to fetch the firewood. An hour later, Adora was done fetching the firewood, and was on her way back home. A huge black snake appeared from nowhere, and bit her on the leg. Adora screamed out loud, and falls to the ground. "My leg, oh! Somebody help me," she groaned in pain, clutching her bitten leg. Fortunately, a young man who is a hunter sees her, and immediately comes to her aid. "What is the matter, dear?" the man asked, feeling a bit concerned. Adora replied in pains, clutching tightly her injured leg. "A black snake bit me on the leg," she muttered in fear, her voice shaky and unstable. The young man hurriedly removed the headband on his head, and ties it firmly on Adora's injured leg. "This will stop the venom from spreading fast. Let me take you home," the young man said, lifting her up by her hand. The young man knew Mr. Ndubusi very well, so he immediately took Adora home. Mrs. Ndubusi sees her daughter from afar, lying peacefully in the arms of a man. Her eyes feared the worst, her heart began to beat louder than the drums in Umuaku community. The young man gradually dropped Adora on a nearby bench. Then, he prostrates at Mrs. Ndubusi. "Good afternoon, Ma. I suppose this is your daughter," he speaks, in a husky voice. Mrs. Ndubusi replied under her breath, her voice shaky and unstable. "Yes, she is my daughter. What happened to her?" she asked. The young man quickly explained all that happened to Adora's mother. "I saw her in Amek Bush," he began, slowly. "She was crying in pain. As I drew near, she said that a black snake bit her on the leg." Mrs. Ndubusi's eyes widened in shock, with her mouth left opened. A snake? Anyways, thank you so much for bringing her," Mrs. Ndubusi said, appreciating the young man. The noise emanating from outside the compound immediately alerted Mr. Ndubusi, who instantly comes out of the house. Mr. Ndubusi turned his head around, looking a bit confused. "What is going on here?" Mr. Ndubusi asked in the midst of confusion. Mrs. Ndubusi lets the cat out of the bucket. "Adora was bitten by a black snake. A young man just brought her here," she said, in a sad tone. Mr. Ndubusi became a bit frightened after hearing the incident. Adora was the apple of Mr. Ndubusi's eyes. He doesn't use her to joke. He had always wanted her to be a male child. But the gods wanted her to be a woman. "What? Adora, my daughter? And you are still standing here? Chidinma," he called out to his second daughter. In a split of a few seconds, a young girl of about 17 years immediately dashed out of the house. "Yes, Papa. I'm here," Chidinma responded, slowly dragging her feet on the ground. "Your sister was bitten by a snake. Go inside my room, beside my bed. You will see one leaf in a bowl. Bring it for me," Mr. Ndubusi mutters abruptly to his daughter. Chidinma's eyes widened in shock. She becomes terrified after hearing what happened to her sister. "A snake," Chidinma replied in a shocked manner. Then, Mr. Ndubusi grew irritated and snapped at his daughter for her silly attitude. "Will you go bring what I sent you?" he grunts loudly, with a bit of anger in his voice. Chidinma hurriedly dashed into the house, goes straight to her father's bedroom. Soon, she found the bowl at one corner, and brought it to her father. Mr. Ndubusi rubbed the leaf together with his palms, until it became a bit greasy. Then he applied the water on Adora's leg. She cried out, clutching her leg in pain. Mr. Ndubusi pats Adora's leg gently to soothe her pain. "Don't worry, you will be fine after I apply this medicine," he said, gently applying the medicine on Adora's injured leg. Gradually, darkness begins to set in. Soon, everybody enters their huts to have a good night's rest. The female king. Few days later, Adora was now feeling better and stronger than before. It was like her strength got renewed. Mrs. Ndubusi is seated comfortably on one of the three-seater sofas in the living room. Adora swiftly walked past her mother. Mrs. Ndubusi turned and saw her daughter standing very well on her feet. "Adora, how is your leg now? I can see that you can now stand on your own," she said, in a calm voice. Warm smiles grazes Adora's face, revealing her 32 teeth. Then she replied her mother. "Yes, Mama. I am feeling better now," she said, her voice low, but steady. The iron metal, dangling at the back of Adora's hands, catches Mrs. Ndubusi's attention. "What are you holding?" she asked, staring at her daughter's hand. Adora stuttered a bit, before she responds, Mama, it is Papa's trap for catching bush meat. I just want to surprise Papa. It's been a long time since he has wanted bush meat." Adora replied, with boldness in her voice. Mrs. Ndubusi replied in an alarming tone. Her hands crossed behind her back. "You want to surprise who? Are you a man? Don't go and hurt yourself." Adora tried to calm her mother down. "Mama, relax. Nothing will happen. I am not afraid of anything. Have you forgotten that I am a female king?" she said, and hangs her cattle-skinned bag across her shoulder. Soon, Mr. Ndubusi arrived home from a meeting. He scanned through the house, and saw only his wife mending a cloth. "Where is everyone?" Mr. Ndubusi asked his wife in a confused manner. Mrs. Ndubusi stopped what she was mending, and replied, "Her husband." "Welcome, my husband." Chidinma went to see her friend, she muttered, in a low, but clear voice. "Okay, what about Adora?" Mr. Ndubusi asked, with a little panic in his voice. Mrs. Ndubusi lets out a big sigh, before she responded. "Adora went to hunt for bush meat. I don't know who sent her." Mrs. Ndubusi murmured out loud. Suddenly, sadness glooms Mr. Ndubusi's pale face. "What? You mean she went to hunt? Why does this girl want to give me a heart attack?" Mr. Ndubusi speaks, lamenting to himself. Few hours later, Adora swiftly strut into the house, with a big bushmeat around her neck. She laid the bushmeat on the ground, and greeted her parents. Papa, good evening. Mama, good evening, Adora said in a polite manner. Mr. Ndubusi stared ceaselessly at his young daughter. Young lady, where are you coming from? He snorts, waiting for a response. Adora began to stutter, scratching her hair with the tip of her fingers. Papa, I went to the bush, to set some traps. You said that it's been a long time, that you ate bush meat. I just say let me surprise you, Adora said, in a calm manner. Adora, what if you were killed by a wild animal? I have told you not to go there, it's too risky for a young girl like you, Mr. Ndubusi said, with a grin on his face. Adora beats her chest repeatedly and murmurs a word. Papa, I am not afraid of anything. Why are you underrating me now? Have you forgotten that I am a female king, a village champion? Adora speaks, showing her strength and muscles. A wry smile crept into Mr. Ndubusi's face. Okay, you said you are not afraid of anything. I will give you a task. If you can accomplish it, you will get something valuable from me, he said, staring ceaselessly at his daughter. Yes, Papa, I can do whatever you want me to do, she replied, with boldness in her voice. Mr. Ndubusi carefully explained the task to his daughter. You will go across Umaku Stream, it will lead you to a dry land. Walk through the thick bushes, you will see an ukwa tree standing by one corner. Cut one bunch, and bring it to me. Mr. Ndubusi says, in a hoarse voice, you will hear many voices, don't answer them. Unless you want to fall into their trap, he added. Mrs. Ndubusi speaks, with a bewildered look on her face. Papa, Adora, don't you think this task is too risky for our daughter? Can she cross those deadly paths by herself? She grunts, a disapproval reply. Mr. Ndubusi responds to his wife. Didn't you hear when she called herself a female king, a village champion? It is time for her strength to be put to test. Mr. Ndubusi glared at his daughter, and told her a final word. Tomorrow is the day, so prepare everything that you will need. Adora responded with excitement, in her voice. Okay, Papa. Till tomorrow, she said, and exits to her room. Soon, darkness completely sets in. Everywhere became quiet, except for the barking dogs, and chirping insects. In the girls' bedroom, Adora and her younger sister Chidinma shared one medium-sized bed. They slept together, as one family. Chidinma sat up on the bed, and began a conversation with her elder sister Adora. Sister, I overheard you and Papa's discussion this evening. Please, don't go for the task. What if something bad happens to you? Chidinma speaks, in a sad tone. Adora grew a bit irritated, and muttered a word to her sister. Nothing will happen to me. Please, go to sleep, she muttered sharply, and covered herself with a piece of cloth. Survival of the fittest. The sun gradually begins to rise from the eastern horizon. It was a feeling of great awakening. Adora, still lying on the bed, smiled sheepishly in her sleep. Then, Mr. Ndubusi calls out to Adora. Immediately, she jerks up, and responded to her father. Good morning, Papa, she greeted, and rubs her eyes with her fingers. Mr. Ndubusi stared ceaselessly at his daughter. Have you suddenly forgotten what today is? He asked, and paused for a while. Adora shook her head vigorously. No, Papa. I haven't forgotten, she replied. Now, go and prepare. Because you are leaving here, once it is 6 o'clock, Mr. Ndubusi muttered to his daughter. Mrs. Ndubusi, who had been eavesdropping, walks slowly into the scene. She looked a bit worried. Then, she utters a word to her husband. Is it not too early? Why will she go at this odd hour? She asked, her hands stretched in the air, yawning softly. Mr. Ndubusi sniffed in, rubbing his nose with his hand. It is not. The earlier she goes, the sooner she will return, he said, and sniffed in once again. Soon, Adora is prepared for the journey. Her body is beautified with many ornaments, which makes her resemble a female warrior. Inside her animal-skinned bag were all sorts of weapons. Then, her parents bids her a safe journey. "May I guide and protect you, our daughter," Mr. Ndubuisi muttered, as his daughter leaves. In the twinkle of an eye, Adora was already 2 miles away from home. Soon tiredness sets in. So, she decided to rest under a tree. Immediately, she entered into a deep trance. Then, an old woman approached her. "My child, please, help me," the old woman cried out in pain. Adora immediately remembers what her father told her, and ignores the old woman. The old woman speaks again to Adora. "I know what you are looking for. I can show you the shortest route to the place, if you can help me," she said, in a squeaky voice. Adora remained mute, she refused to say anything. The old woman became very angry, and started inflicting curses on her. "You insolent child. You will never reach where you are going. I hope the land crushes your bones," she murmured, angrily, and exits. As the old woman left, Adora perceived a bad omen within her. It took her about 30 minutes before she could recover. As she proceeds, she came across a very big river. Adora was a very good swimmer, but she hasn't swum in such a big river. She gradually put a foot first into the river, feeling its texture, before releasing her second foot. As she proceeds, the river began to cover her little by little. Then, she heard her name being called by a strange woman. "Adora. Adora," the voice echoes. Adora, eyes scanned through the vicinity, but she didn't see anybody. The voice groaned loudly, and a bit thick, like that of a man. "Leave. I say leave here now," the voice said, in raging anger. Suddenly, something underneath pulled Adora 6 feet down the river, trying to drown her. Adora began to flinch, and struggle for her life. Then, she reached for her bag, brought out a penknife and uses it to scare away whatever that was in the river. Finally, Adora was free from the unknown grip. Luckily, she found her way out of the river, to a dry land. At the other end, the sun begins to set. She needs to hurry and get back home before dawn. Adora had made it past the big river. Who knows what next is waiting for her? As she walks through the dry lands, she unfortunately runs into a big brown bear. The huge bear stood about 7 feet tall, with its hind legs. It opened its mouth widely, and roared. Adora's face shrinked in fear, as her eyes meet with the fierce giant bear. Then the bear mellows down, and began to roll playfully on the ground. Adora didn't understand why the bear suddenly became playful. The scene moves away, to Mr. and Mrs. Ndubuisi house. Mrs. Ndubuisi is walking briskly in a rhythmic pattern. She was very perturbed about her daughter's whereabouts. It is almost dusk, and Adora is not yet back. "I hope nothing has happened to her," she speaks, in a sad tone. Mr. Ndubuisi gently calms his wife. "Nothing has happened to her. I believe she is on her way home," he said, in a calm voice, observing the fresh air of nature. Now, the huge bear lay on its paws. Adora quickly understood what the bear meant, and climbed on its back. The bear carried her through the thick bushes. 30 minutes later, the bear dropped Adora, close to a brown tree. She tilted her head front, and saw a huge aqua tree standing before her. Adora immediately brought out a penknife from her cattle bag, and cut down a bunch. After she was done, the bear laid on its paws again, and Adora climbed on its back. And it gave her a ride home. The bear swam across the stream, and dropped her on a dry land. Adora thanked the beast, and gave it an apple from her cattle bag. "Thank you very much for your help. I am very grateful," she said, and gave it an apple. The bear roared loudly, and took the apple with its mouth. Soon, Adora reached her home, almost at dawn. Her parents and sister were all outside, waiting for her. "Adora, I know you will come back," Mr. Ndubuisi said, with a wry smile. Then, Adora started narrating all that happened to her family. Mr. Ndubuisi replied to Adora, then turns to his other daughter. My daughter, you have done very well. Chidinma. You should emulate your sister. I have watched her for a long time. In all she does, she has shown true bravery, sacrifice and strength. Now, I will reward her with full rights over my inheritance. He muttered, with a wry smile. Darkness covers the earth. Everyone exits into the house. The end.